what I thought I would do is to catch people up. There were a couple tweets out there of just saying, like, is there going to be a summary for people to jump in who don't want to have to go back through and watch all of the back episodes? And that's what this is going to be. So we're going to talk about the stream so far, or the game so far, to catch everybody up on things that you might have missed, storylines. And this will also be this chance for you, chat, to ask some questions, clarifying things of what has happened that maybe has not been clear. Also, Sven, you can chime in with questions or things that you think I'm forgetting. So I actually have my laptop here because this is where I keep all my notes. And I think one of the things I might do tonight, too, is talk a little bit about just GMing and how I GM. All right, so let's start off. I'm going to... What made you start streaming on Twitch? The reason we decided to stream this game was a few reasons. So, Clinical Role, actually, let's start the origins of how this game came to be. I wanted the different therapeutic dungeon masters out there to become friends and to get to know one another. And so, what I did was I suggested that we all play because psychologists, we are famous for not taking care of ourselves and not engaging in play and self-care. And dungeon masters especially don't get a chance to play a lot. And so I thought all of us playing together would be a chance for us to get to know one another well and to really work and become friends and bring us all closer. And it really has succeeded in that in a lot of ways, which has been a great thing. The reason we started streaming the game was a couple. One, we thought it would be fun to show, how we play in our play styles, to kind of humanize therapy a little bit, try to work on taking away a little bit of stigma going into therapy. But then the other thing also was it was going to hold us accountable. We were going to have to be accountable for more than just us. And so we decided to stream it, and I think it's been a fun decision. What are you doing?
I'm just looking at you while you're talking.
Okay, I just saw you pulling it up.
I'm pulling up chat here, so if I answer chat here, it's actually under this screen name instead of under Geeks Like Us when I answer there, or there. So if I type in the keyboard, it's Geeks Like Us. If I type on my phone, it's me. It's I'm Sven. And if I type into the chat bot, then it's the Geek chat bot. It's GeekBot 2000, 3001. I don't remember what it is now.
All right. So our story started off with the adventurers coming together. They had all answered an advertisement for a job for this lady, and she decided to test their mettle right away. So within the first 5 minutes of our game starting, we were rolling initiative for them to do a challenge to see if they could survive this battle. At that time, we had Dr. Ryan Kelly, who was playing Dick and Morty, or Dick and Marty. Dick and Marty, sorry. Dick and Marty, who was always under the curse of copyrightus infringementus.
The conjoined trends of Rick and Morty.
Yes. We had Immeral, Gragnold, and Baeridin were there as well. So those are the original 4 that we started with. They were able to get through the battle that was before them and were given this job. They were told that a statue had been stolen from this lady and that they wanted to retrieve it. She had found that it was located very far away, and she was going to be able to send the party via a teleportation circle to go into these jungles to try and retrieve it. And so we began into this dive into my own modified version of the Tomb of Annihilation.
Because you wanted to run Tomb of Annihilation.
But I didn't want to run Tomb of Annihilation.
But you didn't want to run Tomb of Annihilation.
Yeah, I wanted to run a theme of Tomb of Annihilation without it going, because I think Tomb of Annihilation is supposed to go to level
Let's be honest,
12.
You just wanted zombie dinosaurs.
I wanted zombie dinosaurs. My absolute favorite monster in D&D is the zombie T-Rex, because it is a zombie dinosaur that vomits out other zombies. That is amazing. So, yeah, that was part of why we did the Tomb of Annihilation, but not Tomb of Annihilation, because it is my own homebrew world. So instead of Chult, they ended up on a peninsula called, oh gosh, I just had it in my brain and now it fell out. The Gaul Peninsula.
Gaul.
And they started off in this very small village where they were. So they started off in this village. They were teleported to a wizard's house who called himself Fizzbang the Magnificent. He was a bit of an interesting guy. Oh, if we can change up the music, there's
what
actually...
do you want now?
If you go to the sound pad.
Sound pad.
Oh, no, wait, actually, just hit fantasy. We're changing the music. Oh, music for tonight from Tabletop Audio. From here on out, it will be Tabletop Audio. Keep going down, there's a dinosaur one.
Which one do you... Why didn't you just say dinosaurs? I can search dinosaurs.
It's not called dinosaur.
I'm going to search dinosaurs. Look, Dinotopia.
Okay.
See? Maybe you should trust me sometimes. And not most of the time.
So they met Fizzbang the Magnificent, human wizard living in the jungles. He was choosing to live there because he just found it an interesting place to live. He lived near this village that was predominantly a tabaxi village with some other humans. I believe there were some elves, turtles, so just a mix of races, but predominantly tabaxi. And a young tabaxi woman named Suka was hired to be their guide, and so they started going into the jungles. They got the chance to encounter some grungs, which was fun to fight them.
What were those?
Those are the frogs, the frog people.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little frog people, the grungs.
Frog people, the grungs.
Come up here.
Who are super fun.
Come on, you're not going to shush up until you come up here. Yeah, I know. Come up here.
Cat.
Come here.
Sven is the cat.
Good gummy, you're heavy.
Sven is the cat whisperer.
No, I don't like to be the cat whisperer. You just happen to be... You hear yourself. Cats are cool. Not this one.
So
he's a turd.
They continued on through the forest after that encounter, coming to... they found this ziggurat where the statue was located. They tried to convince Suka to go in and fight with them, but she refused. And because she knew that this was a very dangerous place, it was forbidden for her people to go in there, and so she chose not to go in. So the party descended down through the ziggurat, getting to the bottom floor. This was Yuan-Ti predominantly there, and while they were there, they also rescued somebody who was a previous adventurer hired by Lady Sari to retrieve this item. A Aarakocra Raven type named Shadow, who was played by Dr. Janina Scarlett, who is of superhero therapy, and she is absolutely amazing, and just lots of love to her, too.
You're saying lots of love as people are being screamed and eaten to death. Yep.
Yeah. Well, it's Dinotopia. It was a scary world.
Dinotopia wasn't a scary world. Dinotopia in the books was actually a nice world.
Well, in this world that I made, it was kind of scary.
No. What are you after, Kat? There's nothing up there for you.
And so they were able to fight off the Yuan-Ti. They had a choice of traveling down to basically to follow the Yuan-Ti and go into their underground lair area, and they decided not to, which I think was a very good choice. Instead, they returned to the village, finding that it actually had been ransacked by, well, they didn't know. It had been attacked in the night. Many people had been taken away. So the village was retreating back to this main city in the Gaul Peninsula of Mabu. And so the party then traveled with everybody else to go and try and figure out what was going on.
Did you name Mabu after Naboo from Star Wars?
No, I did not.
It sounds so close.
They do sound so close.
I was wondering the entire time.
No.
I was like, why did she name it after Star Wars? This has nothing to do with Star Wars.
I use Fantasy Name Generator. Because I am terrible at naming things. Many of my shopkeepers early on were named Tom, because that was the first name that popped. Well, okay, so the first shopkeeper they ran into, I just went with the first name that popped in my head, which was Tom. And then the second shopkeeper they went to, I had forgotten that I named the first shopkeeper Tom, and I was like, oh, it's a Tabaxi village, it's a Tom cat, so it's Tom.
So you follow the same naming convention I do, which the first person they run into is Nipsey 1, and then the next one is Nipsey 2, and Nipsey 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. NPC 1, NPC 2. More about that airplane thing that got lost, or something nobody told me too much about it. Airplane thing that got lost.
I don't know what airplane thing got lost.
Which airplane thing?
Oh, do you mean the...
Oh, no worries, Wandering Shrink.
We're doing a recap. So, what we've gotten through now, this is probably through session 3.
Wow, this is going to be a quick one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. There's more that comes up. And so one of the things I'll say, too, just kind of pausing with, early on, like, I was definitely still finding my way as a GM. I planned way too much. My session notes for these sessions were way too much. I sound a hike, Wandering Shrink. So there was just a lot there that didn't need to be there, and I was starting to learn how to pare it down. When they went back to, one of the things that they found was Fizzbang's tower had been completely ransacked. I think he was gone at that point.
What was the purpose behind Fizzbang?
Fizzbang?
Yeah.
An ally for them to have, someone that they could get information. And also I wanted to give them some way to get back to their home.
He had no purpose outside of that.
An interesting NPC.
Is there a chance that the party will run into Fizzbang again in the future?
There could be, yeah. So Fizzbang is a friend of Lady Sari's, and he didn't cross her, okay? He didn't, like...
You are not going up there. There is nothing up there for you. Go away.
But he did manage to annoy the heck out of her.
How did he annoy her? Does the party know how he annoys her?
No, the party does not know how he annoyed her.
Oh, well then I'll mute the audio. Hold on, you can tell me.
But he knows some things about Lady Sari that make him not want to cross her and be as far away from her as he can.
Is it because she has a secret?
Yes.
Does she have a big secret?
Oh, the party figured it out.
What's the party? What was her secret? I know you didn't tell these guys. You didn't tell chat.
I have not told chat, but they essentially, it seems that she's a dragon of some type.
Some kind of dragon.
Some kind of dragon, or somehow tied to dragons, because the statue she wanted was used for dragon magic. So,
how awkward would it be to be drawn and quartered by being tied to dragons? That's what popped in my head when you said tied to dragons. Just being physically tied to a dragon.
Okay, anyway, we're going to move on from that. But Fizzbang had been missing. Right, so... I'm just reading through my notes of what was going on.
Fizzbang was missing. They got back to the tower, and the tower was gone. The village was destroyed. Fizzbang was missing.
And there's also this thing, too, of, like, Fizzbang was definitely a bit of a mindless wizard. So, like, with the tower being blown up, there's a little bit of that question of, did Fizzbang put the wrong ingredient in his potion? And blow himself up, or was this some sort of...
I don't recall the party ever having that thought, though.
No.
That thought was strictly just in your head. Their thought when they got there was, oh, the tower's been destroyed, Fizzbang's get dead.
Yeah. No, because, like, Fizzbang wasn't sure what was tea and what was poison at his kitchen. And he was making them tea, but Suga told him, like, don't drink this, because I don't know if this is poison or not.
Yeah, but that's not what they came to, though.
Yeah, no. Let me see. And now I'm skimming my notes again. So they traveled, after going through this town, they traveled to the city of Mabu. And again, this is very much so borrowed from Tomb of Annihilation, making it what is the city in that? I can't remember.
In Tomb of Annihilation? I have no idea. I
don't
can look it
remember
up, though.
what the name of the city is, but whatever.
I'll look it up.
Similar to that in the idea that merchants were the ones that were more running things. There was a political system, but it wasn't really politics. Or they weren't really in charge. It was more these merchant princes that were in charge. And so they had to figure out which merchant princes they wanted to woo to try and sponsor them to go back out into the jungle and figure out what's going on, because as they got to the city, one of the things they found was, one, they learned exactly how far they were from home. Because it was going to take about I think I said it was a 3-month boat ride to get back home.
Yeah, because when we were making the map, that's what we kind of figured out when we were creating land masses and stuff and fleshing out the world.
Yeah.
Because you and I spent some time fleshing out that world before you even started the stream. Or before you even started, not even the stream, but before you started DMing the game.
Yeah, because I do have a whole map of the world, which wasn't loading the last time I opened Worldographer, so I really hope I haven't lost it.
I still got a rough sketch up here, like I said. As long as it's up there, I don't lose it.
I have screenshots of it, at least. But, we have the whole... So they've learned that it was going to be about a 3-month boat ride, and it was going to be expensive, and I think with the money they had gotten from the item, so the item, there was a magic... pocket that they had that when they retrieved the item, they put it in it, and all the rest of their money appeared in the pouch. And then they could turn it inside out and became a bag of holding because the DM didn't want to have to worry about encumbrance on the party. They had just enough money to buy passage back, which was going to be a 3-month trip. Or the other thing that they could do was to try and win the favor of the Merchant King so that they could maybe get a magic circle back to the continent that they're from.
Yeah, because she didn't, the lady...
had no way back. She didn't care about them getting back.
Yeah, she actually didn't care about them getting back. She just wanted her item.
She just wanted her item.
That's why she sent them with the bag that transported their item back, and then sent them money, and then it was a one-way thing.
Yeah, because nobody asked, how are we getting back?
No, nobody did. They all looked at the contract. They all rolled a 00 on reading the contract.
Which was great. Yeah, Gragnold tried to pretend to read the contract, so Gragnold couldn't read at that point, and he picked up a napkin to read instead, because his deception check was a nat 1 with -1.
Yeah. Rolled with advantage, -1. Rolled a 1 with advantage on both of them, -1, rolled a 0 on his reading check.
Yeah. It was pretty bad.
That was awesome. That's a highlight over on YouTube.
It is. That's probably one of my favorite roles. That was our very first game. It was awesome. So, and they were also implored by an elder of the Tabaxi to help because essentially undead things were being seen all over the jungles, and they were trying to understand what was going on. And they wanted to figure out, exactly what was happening and how to stop this. And so the party agreed. They worked with a couple of the different merchant princes to gain favor. Their names, I'm terrible at remembering names. So, Adam is great with Gragnold, and his commitment to bits is absolutely phenomenal. They got the lady who dealt in secrets, I believe. Hold on, I gotta find
that link I just threw in chat. That's the 00 roll that Gragnold did.
Yeah.
You can see it down in the bottom right on roll 20. He rolled 00s.
Oh, yeah. Okay, and so then by the time we got to our 5th session, we were joined by special guest Joe Lastly. He is a graduate student in San Diego writing about the power of Dungeons & Dragons and how it can be used to help foster emotional growth, because he's awesome like that. He played a Tabaxi named Xissou. So it was great. Hi, Dr. Rachel. I hope your voice is feeling better.
We were just telling everybody to cough on you and touch you next time they see you.
Yep, at PAX East. I told them to do elbows.
I didn't.
But anyway, they went and did... So one of the things they did while they were in Mabu was they went and explored around a little bit and entered into a fight where they were told it was to be non-lethal combat, to fight until basically everybody was down to 0 hit points, so unconsciousness, not death. Gragnold beheaded somebody. And so he went and trained with a very high-level warrior to learn how to channel and control his rage a little bit so that he would be able to not behead things that he didn't need to behead, which was a good thing, I think. What else did they get to do? this is where they got the contract, and they also started noticing that there were a lot of followers of Pelor in the town, and they were being kind of jerks to everyone, and
because they're high and mighty.
They were being very high and mighty.
And haughty.
And we're talking about the Star-Lord, and that at one point when Dick was walking around and Martie popped out of his shoulder, someone asked him, or the Star Child, sorry, why he had the Star Child. And so at that point, Dr. Ryan had to leave the campaign due to scheduling conflicts, and so Dick and Martie took off to go and see what the heck was going on with the Church of Pelor, and we might run into them again. Gragnold is great at beheading. So after some other just antics in the town, they decided to take a ship to go and try to get to this area where all of the undead things were being seen. And so they traveled for several days out to sea. Immeral did a very inspiring speech to the crew and was actually able to get 2 of the crew to agree to follow them. To which this dungeon master replied, "They are your puppies, you control them." They did also fight one of my favorite homebrew monsters that I have made, which was the giant great white sharks that were zombies.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
I used those actually, I took those and I used those later when we did Aspicon.
Oh, yeah?
Later that year. Yeah, that was at the table. We had those at the table at Aspicon.
I didn't realize you had the sharks at the table.
Yeah, we had the sharks at the table. Yeah. I don't think we ever used them, but we, myself and Dalton, who's a friend of ours, who also did Aspicon DMing with me, we had the sharks and we had the table, and I brought all this stuff along because I had no clue what kind of session we were going to run at Aspicon, what little minor Adventure League session we were going to do. So
yeah,
I kid you, the map I was setting up, I was creating the traps on the spot and the map on the spot because I had no idea how long it was going to be.
Yep.
No idea how long kids were going to stay there, especially kids with Asperger's and ADHD. I had a list of stuff that I was going to try and hit, and if I didn't, oh well.
Yeah. Yep. And that'll probably be about how we do it this year, too.
Yep. Probably pretty much. Did any of the characters have a hard time trusting or going along with the original cast?
Yes. Immeral's been distrusting of everybody. Gragnold and Baeridin, much more so getting along. Dick and Martie, they were kind of just on for the... Well, no, Dick and Martie didn't really want to join the group to begin with either.
Let's be honest. Dick and Martie are a low character.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. And they because of their story, they were displaced. Dick and Martie's backstory is they obviously travel through dimensions and portals in space, so they wound up in
this realm.
In this realm.
Yep. And they don't know how, or Dick didn't know how. But one of the things that was found, and so it took a while for Immeral to start trusting everybody. Yeah, I know, Immeral, totally not distrusting. Is Shadow and Xissou were pretty trusting of the party. Xissou was very big in following fate. He was a follower of the Raven Queen, and he believed her fate had tied him to them, so he was just very trusting in his god in that. And then also... Shadow was a cleric as well, and sort of believed she was where she was supposed to be, so she was much more trusting of the party. And
totally can't see Immeral that way. No.
Yeah.
Why would Immeral trust anybody?
But I think I do think the shark battle was one that started really getting the group together as a cohesive unit in a lot of ways. Because that was where Baeridin and Gragnold ended up in the water, but Baeridin was a giant octopus.
Mm-hmm.
He did have his... So one of the... I tried to give some magic items to everybody that fit the player's personality as much as the characters. And so Adam Johns always wears a hoodie. If he is ever without hoodie, he is incognito. And so...
He's wearing a shirt and tie at that point.
Yeah.
I've seen him without a hoodie with a shirt and tie on. But as soon as the shirt and tie comes off, he's got a hoodie back on.
Yeah, it's
his blankie.
So
I'm going to call his hoodie his blankie from now on. It's canon.
So that's why Baeridin has a hoodie. So when he transforms into his beast shape, he has a hoodie. And so the drawstrings the party can hold on to or sit in the hood if he's a giant beast and things. So that's how he got that. And excuse me. Since Dr. B usually likes to dress up and have on like a fancy dress, that's why Immeral has the vest of BS, which gives him some advantages on persuasion rolls and things, which I think is just fun.
The BS is actually his last name.
Yes.
It's not, it doesn't stand for a shortened version of Bull Honky. It is actually his last name, which is hard to say.
Yes.
It's Dr. B hard to say is what it is.
And and actually I do need to give Enkai and Baron Valdez a magic item that is just kind of fitting of their personalities too. I think about that. Anyhow, so this battle on the ship was where the party, I really feel like, did come together. That Baeridin was a giant octopus.
What'd you give Gragnold?
With Gragnold. Oh, we'll come to that. We haven't gotten to Gragnold's thing yet.
Oh, jeez.
And so they fought. They were able to fight this off. There's a lot of damage done to the ship, though, so they had to go into some shallows to make a couple of quick repairs before going back out. And they found a shipwreck and explored through that, and they found another ship and a journal.
This requires nautical songs.
Yes, we can have water songs. I think there's one, Age of Sail. Yeah.
Oh, Far Above the World. Perfect.
They found a journal belonging to a Braxia Sixwervin, who is a follower of Kowert, and about Quiet Cove. That's like right there.
How about Open Ocean?
Okay.
There, Open Ocean.
But that, yes, they found this journal that talked about Pelor, a little bit about the Star Child, the new head of the Pelorian Church, Nick Gurrier.
Hi, Nick.
Hi, Nick. And yes, they found that and promptly forgot about it.
That's where the journal came from. The journal that keeps getting referenced that they don't ever look at.
Yes.
Ever.
It's a 14-page journal that was created by the DM.
She handwrote.
No, that one I did not handwrite.
You didn't handwrite the journal?
No,
you handwrote the other
stuff. Yeah.
That sounds crazy loud in my ears. Is that music loud? It's not loud for you guys. It's loud in my ears, though, so I'll fix that. Yeah. No, well, you typed out a 14-page journal.
Yep.
And then sent it to them.
Yep.
And they went.
They read the last entry.
They went. This is neat! Wow! Last entry, the end.
So, yeah, they read that, and then, or they didn't read that. They got that. They read the last, they read the last entry, which said that their ship had been attacked by sharks. They were able to kill one of them, but it was too much damage. They were really worried about not surviving the night, and that they had been killed or something. We didn't know exactly what happened. You know, he's not journaling as he's dying, so
yes,
don't know. But eventually, they made their way through the jungle. They have fought many interesting things, to include the zombie T-Rex, which is so much fun. I really want to figure out a way to bring back the zombie T-Rex at some point.
Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be a need for it.
It's so much fun.
Maybe as worlds collide.
Like, I'm trying to... oh my gosh. Guys. A zombie T-Rex, and I changed it up a little bit. I rolled a d4, and that was how many zombies it would regurgitate out onto the battlefield. But also, this was like my favorite moment for Shadow, because she got to do the... what's the cleric? Kill undead? Or...
Turn undead?
Turn undead?
Yep.
Yeah. She did that, and she basically, like, burst, like, 7 zombies all at once that had surrounded the party.
Yep. Which at certain levels, a certain CR of undead just disappear.
Yeah.
They just poof and they...
Yeah.
Shoot. Are the kids still there?
Yeah. Well, and the way I did the zombies with New Gold Journal while dying, the way I did the zombies that came out of the T-Rex, rather than giving them the full HP of a zombie, I did something that Matt Colville talked about with minions of giving them 1 HP, but I did give them the Undead Fortitude. So as soon as they got hit, I had to do a roll, but they were going to die, pretty much, which was a lot of fun. So they did that. They came and they found a hag named Nanazili, who gave them a super creepy doll to guide them to where they were going, which I really liked role-playing the creepy doll. That was their guide. They had some different random jungle encounters that were a lot of fun. Session 10 was where I got smart about the recap and started having the group do the recap rather than writing it myself. So note to all DMs out there, have your party do the recap.
Like we do in our Sunday game.
We do in our Sunday game.
Yep. We roll to see who does the recap.
Yes. So
loser goes.
Yeah, loser goes. They eventually made their way towards this pyramid, and they found there were some strange ooze-like creatures around. They had been fighting lots of different undead, coming to just a silent jungle, which was very difficult for them. And they eventually started descending into this tomb and exploring this tomb, and then we get to Session 10, which happened a year ago, because that one was played at PAX East. So,
I wasn't there for that one. That's
no, you were not.
I was taking care of children.
Nobody has seen Session 10, because Session 10 I have recorded. I have audio of.
It's the lost session.
It's the lost session, because I am still learning how to splice together videos. Trying to get the sound from one thing, and then to cut between two different cameras.
It does give you Lord Reginald.
Yeah, it's Yep.
May do a pre-recording of the playback too of the recap. Pre-record the recap to play as a video prior to the stream starting.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say, and I said it.
All right. So for Session 11, that one was live streamed. That was where they met the boss, which
What happened during Session 10?
Session 10, they fought a Juggernaut, which was cool.
Oh, that's right. That was the big...
the stone Juggernaut mini. Which
was chasing them all over the map.
Yeah, I do need to get that up at some point, because it was very funny, because I had this thing out, and so the way the Juggernaut works is it has to use its entire turn if it turns, if it rotates, but then it moves 60 feet on every turn. So, the players, when they first saw how far it could move after a turn, they were like, Adam J especially was like, oh my god, this thing's gonna kill us.
And it has a special ability just to mow you over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, but they were really clever with how they ended up beating it. So Adam turned into I think he turned into a spider to get up onto the ceiling, and they figured out that it was the tusks coming out of the front of it were the key to a door that they needed to open, and there's no other way to open it other than to get this thing to ram into the door. So it was a little bit of a logic puzzle if they had to get the Juggernaut going the right way, because... Oh, the camera went out of focus. There we go. What happened was, as soon as they came out, they ducked down this one hallway, and of course the Juggernaut's going to start following them, but if they had kept going straight, it would have run into the door that they needed to open, so they had to do all this fun stuff. It was a fun little dungeon. I really liked it. Yeah. So the next session, though, was when they went down to the final layer of this, and they encountered a illithid, actually, and a undead-looking elder brain. They fought, and there was also this purplish stone that was glowing and sucking in different essences and things, and so they destroyed the stone, which then the elder brain and the illithid vamped out, and then they looted the room, and that is where Gragnold found a sword hilt that he felt somewhat attached to, and so he decided to take that with him.
That's where he met his girlfriend, Dawn.
Yes, and then he later attuned to that item and found it as the weapon, the Dawnbringer. He is named Dawn.
Gragnold's last name is now Bringer as well, too. So it's Gragnold Bringer and Dawn Bringer.
Yes.
They are now committed to each other. It was a very touching ceremony involving a lot of swordplay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anywho. After that session, though, so before we picked up on... I just ignore a lot of things. Before we picked back up on the regular game, this is where we did the first backstory game. And so this would be another DM hack I would give people is, once your players are starting to get into their characters and understand that, go back and play through their backstory. And so I knew as soon as they got back to Naboo that since they had survived this, they chose, they had, by the way too, like, there were options. I've wanted to steer the story in certain directions, but I have not wanted to hard push it into directions. Like, I want them to always have options. So, for example, after Vicket and the Elder Brain vamped out, there was an entrance to the Underdark. So they could have done that. They could have continued to explore the jungle, or they could have returned to Naboo. They had all of those options were before them. Oh, and I should mention, too, for most of these episodes, Dr. Kelly came back, and he was playing Nick Manu, who was one of the sailors that the party had convinced to follow them.
Oh, criminy, that's right.
Yeah, I really
he was playing Nick for a while.
Yeah.
Nick was a lot better than...
I like Nick.
Yeah.
Nick. Hello, I'm Nick.
Hello, my name is Nick.
Just gave him, like, this slight South African accent, which I really liked. Like, he was cool. I just had to, like, talk like, hey, do you remember when we were doing that thing just, like, 5 minutes ago? That was great, wasn't it? Baeridin loved Nick. Baeridin and Nick.
They're committed to each other now. It's Baeridin, Manu, and Nick Manu. They're committed to each other at this point. It involves a lot of accents.
Yeah. But anyway, so what we did was we played through... having Gragnold and Baeridin build their village, because I knew that at that point we were going to be heading back to their homeland, and it would be very likely that we would come to their village. And also, I think it was a week that they were the only two able to play, so it kind of made sense to play their backstory.
Yeah.
But what I loved about this was it wasn't just making up names of like, yeah, my childhood best friend was Sammy, and we did this together. It was... We made them up, and then we got to role-play through them interacting with some of the characters from their backstory, really building it up, and then showing the fall of the Moonfang clan and what all happened after that, and their kind of call to adventure, if you will, after that happening. And it really powerful game, I think. Like, as a DM, like... These backstory games have been some of my prouder moments, I think. It was so wonderful to take these characters who at that point were level 5 or 6, I think, and bring them back down to level 1 and 2, and help them kind of walk through that and coming into their own and figuring out who they were.
Because you started them all off at level 3, right?
They all started level 3, yeah.
Yeah, so you basically played their 1 and 2 adventure later.
Yes, yeah. So
in the session in the campaign.
And I really, really like that because they already had an idea of who the character was, who they became, and so now for them to go back and visit that history, I think was really powerful.
Instead of having to do the awkward, like the teenage level 1 and 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awkward teenage levels. Yeah, teen levels. 1 and 2 are teen levels now.
Sure.
I am copywriting that. Get a new trademark patent going right now.
When we went back to the story, coming out of their long battle in that tomb and being on the surface, they fought some oozes, which actually turned out to be a really difficult battle for them. Immeral, I think, went to 0 hit points a couple of times. And this was also the first time where Immeral encountered this symbol of a crescent moon with a sword inside of it. And during his nightly meditations, he started having some different visions that started really having him question his past and his history and what was going on with him. They traveled back up the river to Naboo. It was...
This is all still on that one island.
Yeah, it's all still... peninsula, yeah.
That one peninsula island.
At this point, too, Xissou and Shadow who left the group. Shadow went to go and help the Aarakocra and Tsuri people living in the mountainside cliffs near this jungle because a fungal rot was taking over part of the jungle, and the spores of the fungus were getting lodged into the feathers of the Aarakocra and the Tsuri, and it was essentially like choking them to death. They couldn't quite fly, they couldn't get these spores off of them, and so it was causing a lot of problems. And so with her healing powers, she was better able to save them, but there was a lot of evacuation going on where they were having to move up higher into the mountains to get away from these, basically mountainous mushrooms that were starting to grow in the forest.
Now, what's really cool that you did in the background while they're doing their normal campaign run from they're going from point A to point B to point C, and maybe there's a decision on E and F somewhere inside there. But in the background, in all these notes that you have here on your laptop, there is the map of the area.
Yep.
And then there's a timeline.
Yes.
And then there's stuff that's still happening in the timeline. So wherever they go in that adventure, they're going to encounter something different. If they get to, let's say, nowhere, they're going to encounter something different if they get there on day 1 versus day 10.
Yes, most definitely. And that was a big thing that Vickett was... I don't think this is a spoiler at all for anything, and I think this is stuff they figured out. He was gaining in power, and I had a timeline going for how much power he was gaining. And if they had stalled by 2 more days, he wouldn't have been there at all, because he would have been at full power, and he was leaving once he got to full power.
Vickett being the illithid that they ran into.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the circle of influence that he had was going on, and there's actually I haven't plotted out exactly what's going on, but I know the gist of still what's going on the
where he went to.
Well, where he went to, but also what's going on Gaul, because they left Gaul.
Yeah.
That's where we'll get to now. So Shadow and Xissou stayed at Gaul to kind of help out the Aarakocra and Tsuri people and Tabaxi people to try and reclaim the jungle. Going back through, one of the things they noted was there were a lot more oozes. The undead were pretty much gone. They found a lot of corpses of my favorite monsters, all rotting and very, very smelly. But we're seeing more and more mushrooms. And when they came to the original village, which I think was start with a K. Sorry,
when did they get Bun Bun?
Oh, we're not there yet. They do have Hobbs at this point, by the way. Hobbs was a purchase when they were in Mabu originally.
Yeah.
Hobbs has been with them this whole time. Little monkey. When Immeral had his first vision of his past, that was really bothering him, Hobbs cuddled with him all night. And so Immeral has a real soft spot for Hobbs, and that's where that came from. Was that Hobbs was kind of Hobbs is an emotional support animal. But they came back to the tower of Fizbang, and they found some people going through it, and gave pursuit, lots of fighting, calling on serpents. This was the first time Gragnold really got to play with Dawnbringer, which was super fun for him. But they found that people were being mind-controlled by these mushrooms. And they were losing their minds. They also found... I forget what kind of animal it was. I think it was a ferret or something that was behaving very, very oddly, and its head actually exploded, and these spores came out of it at one point. So they were seeing a lot more evidence of mushrooms and problems with fungus and mushrooms. So they rescued... Fizbang was with this group that they were going back to his tower to try and find some things for him to do some magic for them. So they were able to rescue Fizbang and bring him back with them to Mabu. And they were given some rewards, but mostly the biggest one was they were given passage back to their homeland. And so I'm looking at session 14. The first thing I have is Fizbang casts haste on Gragnold. Did we just get a...
Martis, thank you so much for that follow. Appreciate it.
Follow. And we got another follow. We have a zombie for our follows, because why not?
Player, thank you for that follow as well.
Thank you.
It's not showing up over here. I don't know why. Maybe I got the wrong list up.
Oh, and there's another thing. There's lots of follows all of a sudden. This is awesome.
That was a lot of follows right then.
Thank
there.
you, guys.
They just all pop in.
Yeah, guys, it's awesome.
Herschlag, thank you for the follow. David Chrisman and Demi Geek Girl, thank you for the follow as well.
I like Demi Geek Girl. That is amazing. So they came back. They met with Lord Nori and Lady Ramallah, and were given their. Oh my gosh, we were getting more follows. This is so awesome.
It's all the same ones.
Oh, it's all the same ones.
Yeah, they're just catching up.
That's okay.
I'm a little ahead of it.
So they were given the option of where to go and what to do, and they decided to go. And because Emerald was continuing to have some of the visions and was starting to feel perturbed, confused, he'd never really been exploring the fact that he was an elf, and hadn't really thought about who he was and where he came from much. And so they decided to go and explore Emerald's backstory. And that's where I get to move to OneNote, because that's... So at this point, we're at session 15. And they have a lot of fun by arriving back at the city of Jericho. So this is the capital city of the region. It's called an empire, but honestly, it's not an empire. It's really tiny.
It could be an empire.
Yeah, they want to call it an empire. So basically, it was two large kingdoms joined together by a marriage, and so they called it an empire to make them feel better, I think. That's probably what happened there. And so they arrived, but it was the Valentine Festival of Spring. And so everything was getting ready for that. Things were closed, and so they rested, got a bath for the first time, and stopped smelling so bad. And this is where they first met Baron Valdez. So Jack Berkenstock's character joined them. So I got to have a lot of fun with this, where they went to a fairgrounds, and they did fair events where they went to, there was an archery contest, there was a beer brewing contest, and this is where Adam Davis got his special magic item, which is the brewer's bag. Adam Davis has a love of good beers.
Yes, in real life. In
real life. He appreciates beer. He actually did a beer blog, I think, and had this whole rating system for beers and beer flavors and things. And so he's a very passionate person. And that is manifesting Gragnold, and that Gragnold was the brewmaster for the Moonfang clan. And so his special magic item that ties into his personality is his brewer's bag. And so this is essentially like a bag of holding that's special for brewing beer. There's magical corks, and depending on what cork you use to seal the barrel depends on whether or not the barrel ages or not. So you can put all the ingredients in it, put this one, I think it's a light brown cork in it, and time will pass normally for that beer. Change it to the dark brown cork, and it basically is suspended in time and preserved. So it stops aging. So it's a fun item. I like giving magic items like that just because, it's fun. It just doesn't break the game or anything.
It's just fun.
It's fun. It allows
for flavor.
Yeah.
Character.
And it allows for a special, unique item that really captures that player and that person. So that one was fun. That was a big homebrew, and I was really proud of that one because I hadn't found one that I liked for him yet. And so his personal magic item came a lot later. So at this point, the group learns that Emerald's childhood friend, nicknamed Crispy, has a series of stores.
This was Bun Bun.
Now we're getting closer to Bun Bun. We're getting closer to Bun Bun.
Yep.
It has a series of stores, and so they actually offer to be guards for goods that are going to be traveling south down through the different cities to Windhold, where Emerald is originally from. And so that he can see his friend. And so one of the things that they did during the Valentine Festival, though, aside from getting the brewer's bag, was they went and they visited a fortune teller who read their fortunes and told them a little bit about what they could expect. And they did run into several followers of Pelor there. Did I write? I'm trying to see if I wrote down the... they all had a fortune. I actually planned out the fortune. I had the cards set and ready. That one was a lot of fun to plan for too. So
you stacked the deck? What?
I stacked the deck. They weren't sitting in
You
actually...
fudged your rolls.
I did not fudge rolls. I did stack the fortune deck. But mostly it was to start hinting at the story to come and to start plant some seeds. A few that I remember, like one of the things for Immeral was that a thief was looking for him. Someone who was a thief was out wanting to find him. For Gragnold, it was to trust in the moon, essentially. For Baeridin, part of his was stepping into his destiny.
How many of them actually remember their fortunes? One of the things I get a kick out of this is you put all this time and effort into planning this. And there's all this detail in the background. Just hours of detail. Like you
I know the phase of the moon.
You know exactly the phase of the moon on what day is inside that campaign.
Yep. Yeah, but I will say I think Jack remembers his. One of the things for Baron Valdez is he's a ranger, so he's a guardian of, as many as read the journal, exactly. He's a guardian of nature and a protector of his sacred trees, which he's a follower. I can't remember the god that he follows right now. It's symbolized by the acorn. But one of his cards was sacred trees being burned by the sun, and trying to understand that. So the party starts to travel south. They get to meet several of Crispy's children who are running different stores in the different towns as they run south. And this is also where Baeridin starts to wonder if he's actually a dwarf. Because in the wagon train going to the south, there was another rock gnome. She was a rock gnome. Yeah, she was a rock gnome. And very similar personality to him, and they had a lot of fun, and he realized that he understood Gnomish, and was able to start speaking it after practicing it for a little while. And so there was definitely this thought in the back of his head of, like, am I really a dwarf? And so definitely a lot of...
Are we the bad guys?
Yeah.
We have skulls on our hats.
Yeah. Yes.
You break your concentration. Break your stride. That's my job.
They go down into... Wait, is this one? Oh, that was a special Jack and Rachel. Oh, and so one of the sessions too, I think it was before session 15, before they arrived back, Immeral... So Dr. B and I did a one-off for Immeral's backstory, to play out his backstory and to really build out the characters that he knew. I
was going to say, I remember you doing that with Dr. B too. There was a couple sessions where you did that with him.
Yep, we did that one, and then another week we did the temple, his time at the temple.
Yeah.
Since Immeral's like 70 years old.
1,000 years old.
He's an elf. He's older.
Yeah. He's got some history on them bones.
When they arrived,
still acts like a kid.
In the journal does have a lot of information. There's a lot in there.
You would almost understand what's going on in the world.
Just saying. But no, and they reach. So there were a few things I was really proud of in Windhold, which is Emerald's home city. The thing I'm most excited about Windhold, though, was this was where LoriB joined us. LoriB being our cartographer, who drew Windhold for us, and oh my god. When I saw her rough sketch of it, I cried. Because, if you watch the episode with Dr. B and I building out his backstory, one of the things that we did was we designed Windhold. With my, little blobby of, here's this district. This X is where Emerald's orphanage is. Here's where some rich people are. Here's where a temple is. And LoriB took that and turned it into this gorgeous map that is just, love her work. So beautiful. And so, that was one of the cool things, that we actually had this really beautiful town fleshed out. They got to meet Emerald's old friend and Oh, she's sort of like his troublemaker friend, the one who always brought him into trouble. That she,
The leader of the Thieves Guild?
Yeah, so Daisy.
Yeah,
so
Daisy.
Someone tried to steal Hobbs because
That's
that
right.
was a cool thing.
That's right.
And so this thief grabbed
because
Hobbs.
you and I talked about how do we get them down there.
Yep. So the party chased the thief down into the sewers.
Take Hobbs.
Yep. And we got to end on the reveal of here's Daisy, which was a lot of fun. And then, but they got to explore when Holden got to know this city. Emerald got to learn a bit about the theme I wanted to play with here, and if you kind of know this and go back and watch those, was basically things that we think we know as a kid aren't necessarily true when we look back at them as an adult. And so Emerald's assumptions were that the orphanage was a terrible place, that he was unloved and unwanted, that basically, like, it was a horrible thing in a horrible place. And he went back and found that, like, it was actually a really good, as far as, like, things could be, it was a good orphanage. Like, they didn't just sell kids off to lives of misery. They were all apprenticed. And they tried to find a trade that each child would be suited to and to train them in that. But he and Daisy ran away from the orphanage before they could start their apprenticeships and became street thieves.
Yep.
Basically, a little Oliver Twisty. They sort of had their...
Because they knew better.
They knew better. It was better to go and become a thief than to become an apprentice to the butcher.
I'm not listening to you. I don't want to be no butcher's apprentice. This place sucks. I'm out of here. I'm going to live on the street and steal stuff.
And one of the things that was also not known to either Immeral or Daisy as kids was that parents who paid 50 gold pieces to have their kids raised in this orphanage, which is not a small sum of money. Right, so you've got to figure that that's, what, $5,000?
Yeah.
It would be like a sort of... Well, I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but if you're poor and have nothing, and you can't raise your kid, like... That's a lot.
It's a substantial amount of money, and what these parents were doing is they were making sure that their kids had a future.
Yeah.
So they scrounged all their money together, and yeah, it's heartbreaking for the parents to, put their kids inside this boarding school in a sense, basically, and they're going to wind up becoming an apprentice later in life, but at least their kids had a future at some point, pretty much a guaranteed future.
And we're not going to go hungry, and we're going to be cared for. So it was one of those things of, like, something... that can easily be seen as a horrible thing as a kid, but again, that idea that it wasn't quite what it was, when you looked at it from an adult. And the other thing that they did was they asked for a letter to be given to the child when they finished their training and went on to become a journeyman apprentice.
Now, we're not advocating selling your kids to an orphanage, just saying in this particular world, in this instance.
And so Daisy's... The way we found this was through Daisy's letters were from her father. Her mother had died giving birth to her because she's a half-elf as well. Mm-hmm. And so she shared her letters with Emerald and let him see them. And then he went and got his letters, which basically explained his parents had to leave him there. They couldn't bear to say why, but that he was from, disclaimer, he was from one region where wood elves lived, and his parents were moving to another region, which was to the south of the Moonlit Mountains. And so just kind of learning that it wasn't a thing of he was unloved and abandoned. There were other reasons there. There were other pulls. The other big gut punch in the city was in the form of the tavern, the Howling Wolf Inn, or the Wolf's Howl Inn. It was run by a former member of the Moonfang clan, and what
That's right.
Gragnold and Baeridin found out was some of the pups who were sent to do their year living on their own to survive in the wild didn't survive necessarily, but they also didn't die. They were injured or ran off and were rescued and brought out into the world. And so there were about a dozen of them. And this one woman was there, and she actually knew Gragnold. That was hard. There were many RP sessions of Immeral and Gragnold just getting very drunk and trying to figure out what way was up.
There was a bunch of sessions about runaways, basically, is what it was.
Yeah, and
just all runaways. All that sessions was like everybody running away from something.
Mm-hmm. But it also came to a point where I think Gragnold and Immeral both were able to eventually kind of come to peace with it. Gragnold eventually stepping up. They united all of the members of the Moonfang clan who were calling themselves ghosts and created the Ghost Fang clan, and he became the chief of the Ghost Fang clan.
Mm-hmm. And then he immediately abandoned them and went questing.
Yes. Well, no, they all dispersed because they all had lives. They all had lives, and they were coming once a year to meet at the Howling Wolf Inn to celebrate and to be together.
That's in your calendar now, right?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and it's not an exact date; it's an approximate date. But, yeah. So, and one of the jobs that they did a job with Daisy where they had to go and clear out these smuggler caves, and they were filled with oozes that were very, very similar to the ones that they had fought down in the Gaul Peninsula. And this is where Bun Bun came in. So Potions of Wonder became a thing, because I like randomness in my games.
Backpedal a few episodes to Crispy, because they got the Potions of Wonder from Crispy, right?
No, they didn't.
Where'd they get the Potions of Wonder from?
They got from Pell. She was Shady Pete's granddaughter. She was basically a snake oil person selling, like, confiscated potions and things.
Who was Pell? Where was Pell at?
She was in Thatch, which is the port district of...
Okay, so they bought them in the port.
Yeah, they bought 3. And because I was like, okay, I will give them 3 Potions of Wonder because this is going to be a thing. I do not know how it's going to impact my games, and it has been delightful, which is why I keep giving them more Potions of Wonder.
What are Potions of Wonder?
So the Deck of Wonder is a wonderful thing. You can order it on DriveThruRPG. It causes things to happen such as it rains candy for 5 minutes, or everybody's shoes filled with custard. You can speak to small animals for the next 7 hours. You turn into a frog. To everybody who has not met you before, for the next day, you appear as a donkey wearing a top hat. They are wonderful. I highly recommend bringing them into your game. But coming into this cave, Gragnold decides to down a Potion of Wonder, and the thing that he found was... That's it.
Right there?
Yeah, Deck of Wonder. Oh, it's not available anymore. But what happened was the card that was drawn was the nearest hostile to you turns into a bunny. And so the nearest hostile to him, they couldn't see what it was. They know it's, like, out of character. They know it's an ooze of some kind, but they don't know what type of ooze. I do. And so it turned this ooze into Bun Bun. And so they now have a bunny. Baeridin decided to...
Yeah, I'm not finding it there anymore.
I don't see it. Oh no. Hopefully it's for sale somewhere.
It's not on DriveThruRPG anymore.
Huh.
Like there's the...
They made an after...
Vault of Wonders. There's a Vault of Wonders, Artifacts of Randomness.
No, that might be fun too. No, I wonder I don't know. We'll find if we find it. We will put up a link to them because they're great. I bought them at PAX East last year. Actually, was where I got my copy of the Deck of Wonder.
I'm going to spend a few minutes looking this up now.
At PAX East. Yeah, so they got Bun Bun. Other things that happened there, I think. Did you find it?
They got their own website now.
Their own
Jim
website.
Hammer has their own website now.
Okay.
Is that it?
That is it? Oh, it's
okay.
sold out right now. But it's $20. Just they're so much fun.
Found it. Here it is. Here it is. There it is.
Yes.
They have their own website now. That's why it's no longer on DriveThruRPG.
Yeah, get that. It's great. With getting to know Crispy again, getting to know his family, Immeral really got to connect with his past in a way. When they got ready to finally leave Windhold, Crispy gave them all a healing potion. So one of the things with Crispy was his letter out from his parents outlined that his parents had both gotten very, very ill. they had both been raised in the Oakleaf orphanage and wanted to do better for their child, but they both got incredibly sick, and healing potions cost 50 gold. And they were warned that a healing potion wouldn't cure a disease. And so they had this terrible choice of they could either afford one healing potion that might or might not save them, or they could afford to put their son into Oakleaf Orphanage. And so they chose to send him to Oakleaf. And so what Crispy did was after he finished, and they, unfortunately, both of his parents did die of the disease. But when he was ready to get married, he, instead of for a wedding gift, he bought his bride to be a healing potion. And then anytime she got pregnant, he would save all of his money to buy a healing potion for each of his kids. Mm-hmm. And so healing potions were like this big symbol of you will be okay. I'm not going to have somebody be part of this family and we can't heal you. Which is really touching. And when the party was getting ready to leave Windhold and go out exploring and try to figure out more of what's going on in the world, he gave each of them a healing potion.
Yeah.
So it was their really big kind of touching moment with him.
But they immediately drank.
Yeah. Well, they have not drank. I have asked them to tell me they need to tell me when they drink those. Daisy gave Immeral some healing, or some more potions of wonder because, oh my god, I love those things so much. Oh, also of note, while they were in Windhold, that was when the Chipmunk Wars began.
That is when the Chipmunk Wars began, is in Windhold.
Yes, they drank another potion of wonder, and that was all chipmunks are hostile to you for 3 days.
Mm-hmm. And it's carried on. It's been longer than 3 days.
Yeah, it'll go over. It was, oh my god.
Because chipmunks have long memories.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, and someday we are going to do the Alvin and the Chipmunks episode where they'll all get to be chipmunks and fight against the party. So,
you are welcome for that idea.
That is going to be so much fun. Coming into this, though, this is where we started building up Baron Valdusi and Enkai. So they had an adventure together where they went and they met at the city of the Aarakocra and Tsuri people to help them with some problems that they've been having. Basically what they were saying is lots of cave-dwelling creatures have been coming out to the surface more than usual. They had to help fight against some basilisks because Aarakocra and Tsuri, by the way, are a griffin-based avian race that is a
Aarakocra or
eagle hawk type,
or owl or whatever.
Yep.
Birds of prey based.
Mm-hmm. And then the
Tsuri are griffin based.
Yep. And they are a homebrew playtest creation by Larry Dixon, and I have his permission to have them in the game. So building those in as well. But yeah, they needed some help because flyers against something that turns you into stone is not a good idea.
I've lost so many characters that way. So many. I think I would learn my hubris, but no.
So they got
Can't
to help
get
out
me
with
up
that
here.
Starting to play around. Let me see. I'm just trying to see when, and then we got to session 20. Let's see. Oh, no, that was...
What session are we up to now? 28?
We're up to... we just finished session 28, so we're actually getting close to...
The end. Or the current... Not the end. We're close to the...
Current.
Modern day. Current day.
So, after session 20, I did another world-building episode with Dr. B where we built out his time at the temple, because that was where they were heading. They have been hearing rumors of the Pelorians... The Pelorians are acting very strangely. They're being very demanding of, people need to worship Pelor. They need to forsake all other gods and follow him. So that's been a little weird.
When did they meet Daria?
Oh, that's right. That was the other thing that they did, was they just knew that they started figuring out that there's some sort of demonic thing going on. Is they wanted to learn about demons. And so they went to the Wizards College to see what they could learn. And they met a young wizard named Daria. because we love 90s TV references. And she offered to sell them her rough notes on demon lore because that's what she was studying for her wizard school thesis.
That you hand wrote.
I hand wrote
and embellished.
Yeah, 8 pages of notes on different demon lords, demon princes, demon lore, things like that. Now, I did that for a few reasons. One, I thought it was kind of fun. It was a really cool thing for the players to have. And two, on these notes, too, there's like coffee stains and there's scribblings from her friends who were writing notes to her as she was writing her notes. There's corrections from her professors. They were fun to write. But also because everybody I run this game for is a dungeon master. They run several games a week themselves. They all know who all the demons are, what their domains are, everything like that. So the temptation to metagame is huge. And so what I did with this tool was I wrote all of this stuff out to basically say, if it is on this piece of paper, your character knows it. If it's not on this piece of paper, you don't know it. You could maybe make a roll to see if you know stuff that you as a person know. But this is not what you know from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, from the Monster Manual, from
Into the Abyss,
all of that stuff. You don't know that. Your characters know what's on these little pieces of paper.
If they read them.
If they read them.
They haven't read them.
They haven't read them.
We know they haven't read them. Because...
they haven't read them. Actually,
we know they haven't read them yet.
I don't know if Dr. Rachel's still in the chat or not, but I bet if I sent them to her, she would read them. Actually, and I do need to send, because I think they would share it with Enkai, everything that they've seen so far. I don't know. I'll have to ask them if they would share that info with her.
We'll know when they read them.
Oh my god. Well, and okay, side note, what is funny is at PAX Unplugged this year too, I know you would. I will make sure you get copies of those, Rachel, so that you will read them.
No, she should just ask for them from Baeridin and Gragnold and Immeral, because that's who has them.
Yeah. No, it was at PAX Unplugged, when we were talking about problem players, actually, Dr. B brought it up. It was when you type up 14 pages of notes for your players and they don't read them. Yes.
Yeah. I heard something beep.
I don't know what that was.
Maybe it was just in the music.
Okay. The music's beeping.
What is that music? I kind of stopped listening to it for a bit. I don't know what's playing right now.
Far Above the World.
I don't know what this is.
You're playing Far Above the World again. You're in the space music again.
Oh, well, let's play Outpost 31 then.
Do Waterkeep.
Waterkeep. There's Waterkeep. We'll play Waterkeep.
All right, so session 21. They head down to the plains. And this is where they have an encounter with a Pelorian and some zombies, and it's getting to see this Pelorian in action actually saving this town from zombies, and a lot of people swear themselves to Pelor at this point. Yes, she would. Rachel's amazing. And the art, the fan, oh my god.
If you look on the back of these mugs, I'm back here. I'm right there.
Yep. So they get to have that little thing. Should I mention the other thing that they forgot about with traveling through the mountains?
I forgot about it. I don't even remember where you're at now. Sorry, I was more enthralled with the mug and changing the music, and my ADHD got the best of me. I don't know.
I don't know if any of the guys are on the chat. Oh, whatever.
Here, I'll look.
So
let me see who's in chat. Who's actively in chat right now that can honestly say
okay, that's
anything.
none of the other players. Okay,
let me check this one over here.
Oh, okay.
I got 3 different sources to verify against. I don't see our players anywhere in the chat unless they're incognito, which is possible. So it's your call.
So one of the things
you can roll a d20
when
on
they left Windhold, one of the members of the Ghostfang clan basically became a ranger and just wandered the Moonlit Mountains. And so he offered to be a guide for them and followed them, but they ignored him so much, they just kind of forgot he was there. So someday they're going to remember that they had someone following them.
So, there was a book by, I want to say Michael Crichton. I'm probably getting it wrong. I might be right, though. Mm-hmm. So there's a 50-50 shot there. Either way, I got 100% of my bases covered.
Okay.
It was eventually turned into a movie with Antonio Banderas. It dealt with Middle East, Arabian, going to Norseland, and I can't remember. Anyways, the entire basis, the part which was funny in that movie was Antonio Banderas is playing this Arabian prince.
13th Warrior.
13th Warrior, that's it, yeah. So he's playing the Arabian prince. And the entire time, every night, he's sitting there at the campfire, and he's listening to the Vikings, just these Norse guys talk to each other. And eventually, he figures it out. Yeah. So he talks back to them in their own language.
Yeah.
How long have you known?
So Matin was the member of the Ghost Fang clan that wanders the mountains, and they just stopped talking to him, and they forgot to ask about what he was doing, what was going on, and I was getting tired of reminding them that he was there, so I stopped reminding them.
So there's a stealthy ranger following them.
Or he maybe just got sick of... we got out of focus again. Focus. Camera.
Well, stop touching the camera.
Alright. Or he just got sick of being ignored. So, he might have just left in the night and his new chief didn't even notice. So, yep. Yeah.
You can't expect him to keep track of everything, can you?
No.
I mean, it's not as bad as, like, your keep burned down because you forgot to turn off the stove before you left.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but I did bring him up a whole bunch. And
not in this game. Other games we've played.
Yeah, other games. Yeah. Anyway, that's another thing. So we also get to have at this point session 21.1. Kowert City. This is the avian city where Enkai and Baeridin have been. They've been there, I think, about 3.5 weeks at this point. When the leader of that tribe, Silverwing, asks them to come with him, and they get to go and speak with the Queen of the Birds. And she talks about how a boon has been called, that there is a siege happening of the Temple of the Seven Towers, or the Temple of Moon, or the Temple of Seven Towers. And so they go south with Bree, who's a very headstrong Aarakocra, named after my former bird.
Who's named after a bird in a book by
Mercedes Lackey and Larry Dixon.
Larry Dixon. So we come back full circle if you've been paying attention.
Yep. Bree was my birdie who passed away this summer, though. I had him for almost 20 years. So, but they get to fly south. We get to discover how sick Enkai gets with traveling. But it's sort of just a fun bit of travel and character building for them, and getting to know those characters a little bit. And then session 22. This is where the party is more traveling into the mountains and trying to figure out what's going on. And so this is where basically they get a few different visions of things are about to change. I'm very, very fascinated with the idea of that moment before. So, like, that transition from the old into the new, and so really working on that. How do I put it? Like, before things start to get interesting, that kind of quiet, that last day that you don't know is the last day. And so I was trying to play around with that idea a little bit, of coming up of, like, just these different premonitions of, hey, things are about to change. As soon as you walk through this door, your life is going to be completely different going forward. And so really wanting to play around with that and help kind of cement that in, that this is this big epic call to adventure that they're all getting. they're going to be playing on the world stage. And so it's really, difficult in that way, but it helps them grow and get to where they want to go. So then we come to meeting at the Temple of the Seven Towers, getting to meet Master Owashi, getting to meet the advisors, the people who are left, and trying to deal with the siege.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a behind-the-screens fun thing here. I was like, okay, there's going to be a siege at the Seven Towers. This is going to be cool. And then I realized I have freaking no idea how to run a siege. And I had already put it in play. It's just like, oh, I have to figure out how to run this and how the mechanics are going to go with it.
So why don't the monks defend themselves?
Yeah, no, I had to answer that. Well, no, I had an answer to that, but it was the breaking of the siege and how that would work and what would happen. And
yeah, because you and I talked that over for a bit, trying to mull that one out.
Yeah, and here's the fun part. We're both former military. And so thinking of okay, what's the size of the army going to be? You need this many captains, this many lieutenants, this general. We had all of that lined up. Again, too much work behind the screen, but it was fun. So I'd call that good. There were reasons and things that I'm not going to go into necessarily on stream because it's secrets of the world. So many secrets. But this was where Gragnold got to face off with General Sorensen. They came to face the general and found that he had all these prizes of different... I should mention, this was the followers of Pelor that had the temple under siege with a mercenary army of hobgoblins under their control. So there weren't many followers of Pelor there. It was mostly the hobgoblin mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
But in charge was General Sorensen, and he had all these trophies to include the emblem of the Moonfang clan, noting that he was killing those who worship the night, those who were not coming to Pelor's light. And so battle ensued. And Gragnold did get the killing blow on General Sorensen, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he beheaded him. Yep. With Dawn. Very appropriately.
Yep.
This is also where we first got to see Sparkles, the unicorn in action from Dr. Kowert.
Yep. We had some ninja bees in there somewhere
bees.
too.
Oh my God.
Or the ninja bees were on when they were sneaking out of the Seven Towers to get to the encampment. So we had ninja bees, we had sparkling unicorns, we had a flying monkey.
Yeah.
There was a polymorph bunny in the back somewhere.
Yes.
Baeridin turned himself into a spider.
No, he was a spider at one point, but then he also turned into a polar bear.
He turned into a polar bear during that fight.
Sparkles and what do they call the polar bear?
Snow cone.
Snow cone. Yeah, Sparkles and Snow cone.
I was making it up, but
no,
sure.
It was Snow cone. It was. Yeah, so that was a really interesting. Now, what happened though was during their fight. So as the reinforcements were essentially coming down to defend the general and to defend the captains that were fighting with him, so some hobgoblins were coming in. These horns sounded, and all of these gnolls and minotaurs came in and started fighting the hobgoblins and fighting the other people who were holding siege, and basically laid waste to this siege army.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Yep.
I don't know what that's about.
I have no idea what is that about.
I know.
If only there was a repository of information.
The next episode, this is where we start to learn a little bit more about Enkai.
We're at episode
25 at this point, yep. And so we learned...
So this was only a couple weeks ago.
This was just a few weeks ago, yep. And so we learned that Enkai's not just a druid. She's actually been sort of sneaky about her past, that she was basically a pirate lord for several years and worked as a pirate. And she actually found the blade that her old mentor used to carry, which was a sword of, I'm going to say Melora, but I don't think that's right. Is that right? Again, this is where... Sorry. Anyway, I'm not going to worry about it because, like, it's just a name and it's okay. But anyway, she gets a cool...
It's not like it's an important part of her backstory or anything.
I don't remember names. That is right, Ismail. Okay, thank you. I don't remember
Maybe
names.
she's saying that is right to the fact that this is the memory part, and she
yes.
doesn't remember the naming herself. She's just agreeing with you that that's...
Yeah. And she gets a really sweet sword, so she's got that. Baron was given a quiver of arrows, so he gets 6 radiant arrows that will recharge, or he restock at dawn. And they start heading off. 26.
Oh, excuse me.
So this is where they ran into... oh my gosh, wait. I feel like I skipped a few here. Oh, because, alright, I was expecting them to reach the Valley of Lady Bircha for several weeks. And it didn't happen. They, oh gosh, this was actually, I think, the heart.
This was something different.
This was something different, yes. Session 26 was actually where, they're traveling through the mountains. This is where they encountered the trees, the poison tree, and so Baron was seeing some of the sacred oaks that he worships were cut down and poisoned, like had this black ichor coming out of them. And they defended that. And then in session 28, okay, because, oh yeah, we're getting ready for 29. 26, so sorry, I'm forgetting which happened. 26, I think, also, that was where they had the fight. And then 27, sorry, I'm not remembering what happened when now. Even though I have notes. I have so many notes.
I mean, it just says it right there.
Yeah. Now, session 26 was where they went back and passed the Moonfang clan. And so Gragnold and Baron wanted to go and see their old village and talk about what happened and try to understand it, because at this point Gragnold's been getting some visions that indicate to him that thank you for the follow, not everybody died, and that things weren't exactly the way he thought they were, because they didn't find all the bodies when they were cleaning up the village from when it was ransacked. And so it was hashtag the feels, like going to the, I really like, Brad, focus again. Focus the camera.
What's going on with the camera?
I don't know.
What'd you do to it?
I don't know. It can't focus on your epic beard.
It's pretty epic.
So, they, so as a GM, I did not expect them to go to the village. I expected them to pass by, to be I really thought that they would not want to go back there. I thought that they would want to avoid that and to avoid those memories. So I was really surprised, honestly, when they wanted to go to the village. But it was probably one of the most touching moments as a GM. Having the wolf family moved into the village area was something that I was planning on. And so, like, I was really glad to show that, but, whew, man, that one was the feels big time.
Oh, that's the one where they, what was the line that he gave? They'd never tell you about how long it takes.
Yeah, they never tell you how long it takes to clean up all the bodies.
Yeah, they never tell you how long it takes to clean up all the bodies, referencing to the fact that that Baeridin and Gragnold had to go through and clean up all of their dead clan members and put all their dead clan members onto a funeral pyre and burn them.
Yeah. And it was just, oh my gosh. Like, that episode, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
that one had me crying here behind the screen.
Yeah.
Behind that screen. On the other side of that screen. Which is actually here.
But we flipped the screen around.
But I flipped the screen.
Have my fancy shower curtain showing. Which, yes, the backdrop is a shower curtain. very good cost-saving thing. So moving on from that, they reached the Vale of Lady Bircha, where we got to meet... all right, how would you pronounce it? Elodin? Eladin? Eldelian?
Eldolin?
Eldolin? Eldolin? I'm so sorry.
Eldolin.
This is Sunniva's name, and I can't...
Eldolin Odrom. How's that hard to... That's easy to say. Well, I know why you can't say it. I know I can say it. It's however you want to pronounce it.
Thank you, son of
her name is...
Ruby.
Nipsey 15.
Evelyn Odrom. Sven got it. That she was in Lady Birch's care. So she was an elder of the Moonfang clan who disappeared about 2 years before the fall of the clan. She was the keeper of their oral tradition. She was basically the wise one, not the leader, but the kind of the soul of the clan. And she was very excited to see both Baeridin and Gragnold. She wanted to see Baeridin turn into a wolf, and when he did, she got very choked up and happy. And then she imparted on to Gragnold the stories of the Moonfang clan and gave him her symbol, which was a very large wolf fang, for him to wear. And then she asked him to tell a story. And as he was telling the story of the first brew that he ever made for the clan, she quietly passed on. And then the group had a celebration. And then the next session, Enkai wandered off with Lady Bircha. And the rest of the party got to know Zanra, who is a drow follower of Illustri, and telling them a little bit about the culture of the Underdark as she knows it, and offering to be the guide to bring them down to the Underdark to try and rescue the remaining members of the Moonfang clan. And so what you've learned about a little bit about the drow in this world. I'm trying to be very intentional with the drow. I don't want it to just be here's a race and they're all evil because this is what the book says. Like, I want it to... Here's
a bunch of dark-skinned people who are always bad.
Yeah, no, I don't want that 100%. And so, the drow in this world, it's not the fact that they're drow, it's the fact that they follow Lolth. It's the ones who follow Lolth are evil. Not all the drow follow Lolth, but very few drow who don't follow Lolth survive, because most of them do, and so most of the drow are untrusted. But I would also say that the followers of Lolth, one of their biggest points of pride is to hunt down those who don't follow her. So to find the other drow who are not followers of Lolth, and to carry out Lolth's justice on them. Because I'm taking a lot from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes on the history of elves. And so if you read that, I'm going to say Cornelius, and that's obviously not Corleone.
Yeah.
Not Cornelius. Corleone created the elves, but then Lolth took his creation and twisted to make the drow, is what the history says. So essentially the drow are her creatures, and so she very jealously guards them, and so any drow that leave her, she's not going to be happy about that. And so that's sort of where that comes from. So Zanra is not a follower of Lolth. She's a follower of Illustri. She's a sword dancer, who Emerald's taken a fancy to. That one I did not see coming. Like, I figured, like, another elf. Nope, he would be... No, he's...
And as soon as we learn Zanra's last name, then we can call him...
Denier.
Emerald Denier. It's Emerald Denier now.
Yeah.
Or it's Zimmeral and Imra is what we'll call them.
Yes.
They're now known as, Zimmeral.
Zimmeral.
Yeah.
But, so now she is going to be guiding them down into the Underdark, and that's where we will be picking up next time at some point. I do hope to do Dr. Kowert or Dr. Rachel's episode with Enkai, so you guys can find out what she was up to.
Her level 1 and 2 episode. Her teenage level episode.
No, it's not her teenage level. It's actually a current. But it's what was she doing while she walked off with Lady Bircha? Hi, kitty cat.
I lied. I don't know what's going on. I just produced the show.
Going down into the Underdark during the next several episodes, so I'm really excited about that.
It's going to be super dark. Nobody's going to be able to see it.
I know.
It's going to look like nothing, the whole screen. Just
unless
dark.
You have dark vision.
It's quite literally, it just look like...
Please don't.
No.
Okay. Anyway. But that's where we'll be picking up. I think April 8th will be the next episode of Clinical Role. Next week is April 1st. We're going to do some sort of stream of some kind. Playing a game again, maybe? I don't know.
What do you want to play?
I don't know.
We need a podcast.
Call to Adventure, again.
We need a podcast call to adventure?
No.
We can do something. I don't know what we're going to do. Stardew Valley.
Ooh. I like
we'll just co-op Stardew Valley.
We can do that as well. But anyway, that is the game thus far. And to give you that guys the idea of where things stand. But I hope that has caught anybody up who's been interested in our little stream and what we do. And we'll see you guys all soon.